I told myself it was innocent. Just dinner, just a friend, just one more glass of wine. My husband was out of town. A week-long conference in Denver. He texted me that morning, said, "Don't forget to water the plants." He didn't say, "I miss you," or "I wish I could be there." But he did. The man sitting across from me that night. The one who smiled too slowly. Who held his wine glass like it held more than just wine. He was my husband's friend. Or at least that's how it started. They used to work together. He helped us move into this house. I remember. He carried the heaviest boxes like they were nothing. Told me I had good taste in lighting. I remember laughing too long at that. I think I've always noticed him. But I tried not to. That night, it was raining. One of those soft, sleepy rains that makes everything feel closer. Dinner was simple, takeout, candles, a little jazz playing low in the background. We talked like we used to, before everything got complicated. And when the clock hit midnight, I said it without thinking. "You can stay the night if you want." He didn't answer right away. Just gave me that look, the one that lingers a second too long. "It's late," I said, trying to fill the silence. And he nodded. Once. I told him the guest room was made up. Extra blanket in the closet. I smiled too much. He said goodnight from the hallway, his voice low, careful. And then I was alone in my bed, listening to the storm, to the quiet house, to the sound of my own heartbeat, too loud, too fast. I wasn't cold, but I couldn't stop pulling the blanket tighter around me, as if that would keep something in, or someone out. And then I heard it, a soft creak from the floorboards, but not from my room, from the guest room, where he wasn't supposed to be anything more than a friend. But that night, everything felt different, and I hadn't even touched the door yet. I didn't plan to get up. I told myself to stay under the covers, close my eyes, let the storm pass through me. But something pulled me. Not a thought, not a decision. More like a current. I stepped out of bed barefoot. The floor was cold, grounding, like it was trying to remind me who I was. But the hallway was warm, dim, silent in a way that felt thick. Like the air had weight. Like it knew what I was about to do. I didn't rush. Didn't let my footsteps make a sound. The guest room door was almost closed. But not quite. That half-inch of space felt louder than anything. I stood there for too long. Long enough to hear my breath change. To feel my hands tremble just slightly. Could have gone back. Closed my door. Gone to sleep and let this moment dissolve like a dream I never remembered. But I didn't. I raised my hand. Knocked, soft enough that it wouldn't wake him. Unless he was already awake. No answer. Just silence. But the kind of silence that holds its breath. I pushed the door open an inch. Then another. He was lying on his side facing the window. Still. Not asleep, I could feel that. His breathing wasn't steady enough. There was something about the curve of his back. How close the covers were to slipping down his shoulder. Like even the sheets wanted to know more of him. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I just walked toward the bed. Slow. Each step a question I didn't ask out loud. I stopped at the edge waiting for something, a sign, a signal. A voice telling me this is wrong. But nothing came. Except the thunder somewhere far off. And the feeling that this moment wasn't new. It was just finally happening. I slipped under the covers, barely disturbing the space between us. And still, I felt the heat of him. His body didn't move, but I could feel the tension. How it radiated just beneath the stillness. He didn't turn to face me, but his hand found mine. Without looking, without speaking. And when our fingers touched, that was the moment. That breathless, trembling moment. When everything changed, and nothing was said. I didn't know what I was expecting. Maybe for him to pull away. Maybe for me to. But neither of us moved. His hand found mine like it had done it 100 times before. Like we were picking up where something had quietly paused. Not where it should have ended. His skin was warm. Rougher than I remembered. Or maybe I just never really let myself remember. There was a pause. Not in time. But in us. Like we both realized in the same second. This is happening. Not out loud. Not in words. Just in the space between our fingers. He still hadn't looked at me. His face was turned toward the wall. But his thumb moved slowly, barely. Over the back of my hand, I could feel my chest tightening. Not from fear, but from the unbearable quiet of it all. From what I wanted to say. And couldn't. Because words would break this. They always did. I let my body shift just slightly, until my shoulder brushed his. That tiny touch sent a ripple through me, like I'd stepped into something electric. And still he didn't speak. But he let me get closer. There was no kiss. No sudden motion. Just warmth. And the sound of our breathing, starting to sink in the dark. He finally turned his face toward me. Just enough for our foreheads to almost touch. His eyes were open. I couldn't see them fully, but I could feel their weight, like he was searching for permission, and afraid of what he might find. And God, so was I. My fingers curled into his, like they were holding on to something I already knew I'd have to let go of. And when he finally whispered my name, quiet, hoarse, like it hurt to say, I almost broke. But I didn't. I just let the silence answer for me. Because in that moment, silence said everything. And I still don't know if it was mercy or a promise. I thought he might kiss me. It felt like the world was holding its breath for it. The way the rain slowed outside. The way the thunder faded into distance. Like even the storm was giving us space. But he didn't move. Not closer. Not away. He just stayed there. Forehead almost touching mine. His hand still wrapped around mine like it meant something. And it did. God, it did. My whole body was on edge. Not in fear. But in that unbearable tension of almost. Almost touching. Almost speaking. Almost becoming something we weren't supposed to be. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. Or maybe it was his I heard. I couldn't tell whose breath was whose anymore. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not losing yourself in someone, but realizing how easy it is. His other hand moved. Not suddenly. Just slowly enough to make me feel every inch of it. It brushed my waist. Paused. And then it settled. Tentative. Like he was waiting for me to say stop. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just let it happen. Let the moment breathe through me. My eyes were closed. But my body knew everything. The heat between us. The way the sheets clung too tightly in all the wrong places. The way my skin was aching for something I still wasn't sure I was allowed to want. His mouth was so close to mine. Close enough that I could feel the way his breath caught. Every time mine did. But he still didn't kiss me. He almost did. He hovered there. On the edge of a decision we both knew we'd never undo. And then he pulled back. Just enough. Just enough to remind me that we were still pretending this was a line we wouldn't cross. Still pretending we were stronger than this. And he whispered, if you stay here, I won't be able to stop. My throat tightened. Because I didn't want him to stop. But I also didn't want to be the one who gave permission to ruin everything. So I didn't say yes. And I didn't say no. I just moved a little closer. Let my leg touch his. Let my body answer for me, quietly, desperately. And that's when I felt it. The moment his restraint started to slip. It wasn't sudden. It was slow. So slow it felt like time folded in on itself. He didn't grab me. Didn't rush. Just let his hand explore the space between us. Like it was learning me for the first time. Or maybe just remembering. His fingers traced the curve of my side. With a kind of reverence. That made my breath catch in my throat. He was still watching me. His eyes half shadowed in the dark. But they never left mine. Like he needed to see everything. Every reaction. Every second I didn't pull away. And I didn't. I couldn't. Because my body had already made the choice. My mind was still trying to argue with. His touch was quiet. Almost shy. But it burned. Everywhere he lingered. Along my hip. The inside of my wrist. Just beneath the edge of my shirt. Felt like a question I was too far gone to answer. My hands found him too. Carefully. Clumsily. I wasn't bold. But I wasn't innocent either. I think that's what scared me the most. Not how good it felt. But how right it did. Like my body had been waiting. For this exact kind of wrong. His forehead pressed to mine again. He was breathing harder now. And I could feel the war in him. The part that wanted to be good. And the part that just wanted me. I shouldn't be here. He whispered. but his thumb brushed under the hem of my shirt, and his breath landed on my lips, like he was already apologizing for the thing he hadn't done yet. I didn't answer, because every part of me was begging him not to stop, and maybe he saw it in my face, or maybe he just needed an excuse. But he moved closer. His nose grazed my cheek. His lips almost. We were suspended there. Half a second from something irreversible. And then, his phone lit up. A soft, cold light cutting through the dark. We both froze. The name on the screen blinked once. My husband. Calling from Denver. The air changed instantly. My heart slammed into my chest, like it suddenly remembered what it was doing. His body went still. His hand still on me. His forehead still pressed to mine. But everything between us snapped back into silence. He didn't answer the call. He didn't move away. He just looked at me, like he already knew we'd gone too far. And it still wasn't far enough. The phone stopped ringing. The room went quiet again. But not the same quiet as before. This one was colder, sharper, like it was reminding us that the world still existed. Just outside this bed, this house, this lie we were almost living. He exhaled, slow, almost ashamed, and I felt it, right there between us, where his breath brushed my skin, like it didn't know if it was still allowed to. Neither of us moved, but everything had changed. His hand still on my waist, my fingers still tangled in the fabric of his shirt, but we weren't moving forward anymore. We were just hovering, held in place by guilt, by fear, by the cruel interruption of reality. My voice was the first to break. Not a sentence, just a whisper of his name. Soft, almost pleading. He pulled back. Not all the way, but enough. Enough for the air between us to rush back in like a tide. "I'm sorry," he said, but it didn't sound like an apology. It sounded like a confession, like a man who knew he couldn't pretend anymore. I sat up slowly, the sheet falling with me. The room suddenly felt too bright, too exposed. Even in the dark, he stayed lying down, one arm bent behind his head, eyes searching the ceiling like it had answers. "I wasn't going to do anything," he said, and it was a lie, but not the kind that tries to deceive, the kind that's desperate to undo what's already done. I turned toward him. "I didn't stop you." That landed between us like a second truth. He sat up then, ran a hand through his hair. His mouth opened, closed again. "You looked at me like you wanted me to," he said finally. "And I did. God, I did. But wanting doesn't erase the aftermath." I looked at the door. It hadn't moved, hadn't opened, hadn't betrayed us, but it felt like it might, like something outside that room already knew. And yet, I didn't leave. I didn't get up. I just asked the one question that had been burning in the back of my mind since this all began. What happens if we don't stop? He didn't answer right away. Just looked at me, like he was trying to picture it. Without limits, without guilt, without the door down the hall that still had my husband's name on it. "What happens if we don't stop?" I repeated, softer this time, as if saying it out loud might make the answer feel smaller, less dangerous. But it didn't. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his fingers rubbing slow circles into his palms, like he was grounding himself, or trying not to reach for me again. "I think," he said finally, his voice barely holding together, "if we don't stop, I won't be able to pretend after." And there it was, the thing neither of us had said, the thing that always lived just beneath our smiles, our shared jokes, our polite distance at dinner tables. This wasn't just desire. It was something older, hungrier, the kind of ache that doesn't go away once it's fed. It grows. And suddenly I was more afraid of that than I was of being caught, because I could lie. I could lock this moment away and never speak of it again. But if I crossed that line, I wouldn't want to lie anymore. I turned toward him. His face was in shadow again, half hidden, like it was safer not to see everything. But I saw enough. The jaw clenched, the vein in his neck pulsing harder than his words, the way his fingers wouldn't stop moving, like they still remembered the shape of my skin. He looked at me then, really looked. And in his eyes I saw it, that raw, aching honesty that only shows up when there's nothing left to protect. "I've wanted you for a long time," he said. Simple. Devastating. And I'm not proud of it. But it's the truth. I swallowed hard. There was nothing left to hide behind. No more accidental touches. No more safe distance. "I don't know what this means," I whispered. "I do," he said. "It means we can't go back." The silence that followed felt like it might break the room in half. As I think we both knew. We'd already gone too far for this to be nothing. But not far enough for it to become everything. And then he reached for me again. Slower this time. Like he was asking for permission. One last time. And without thinking. Without breathing. I gave it. When his hand touched mine again. It wasn't hesitant. It was different. Like all the weight of pretending had fallen off him. Off us. No more second-guessing. No more hiding behind polite pauses and half-smiles. This was real now. And terrifying. He pulled me into him, not rough, not rushed. Just certain. Like something he'd been holding back for years. Had finally broken the surface. My face fit against his chest like it belonged there. And for the first time, I let myself feel it. The way his heart raced against mine. The way his hand slid up my back. Like it needed to memorize every inch. Like this moment had to be enough. Because it might be the only one. I think part of me expected the guilt to crash down immediately. But it didn't. All I felt was heat. Relief. This deep aching pull. That had lived in my chest for so long. I forgot what it was like to feel full. His mouth hovered near my ear. Not speaking. Just breathing. Letting every second linger like it might be the last. And maybe it was. Because this couldn't last. We both knew it. And we never said it. But our bodies knew how to say goodbye. Before the goodbye ever came. Every touch was slower. Deeper. As if we were writing a memory across each other's skin. That we'd have to carry in silence. For the rest of our lives. We didn't kiss like lovers. We kissed like people who couldn't. But had to anyway. And when it was over. When the breathing slowed. And the warmth between us finally quieted. He looked at me like he was memorizing something. Not my face. But the version of me I only ever was. With him. I sat up. Wrapped the blanket around me. Like armor. And he didn't stop me. Didn't say my name. Didn't ask me to stay. As some moments. You don't ruin with words. I opened the door. Stepped into the hallway. And the air felt different. Cooler. Cleaner. But empty. Back in my room I sat on the edge of the bed. And stared at my phone. One missed call. A text. "Hope you're asleep. Love you." I didn't respond. I just lay down. Closed my eyes. And listened to the storm finally fading. And somewhere down the hall. In the guest room that still smelled like him. We became a secret neither of us would ever stop remembering.